Tribe? How you guys doing? Welcome back for another retro review. We have Falcon Crest. We are on season 2, episode 15. So we Maggie and Chase are up in the bedroom chilling, doing what they do, talking, laughing, joking, and they hear this sound. And Chase thinks it's the exhaust in the kitchen. Maggie was like, "That exhaust ain't working 2 weeks." And he said, "Well, what's that sound?" So they go out to investigate and they find Cole. Remember, Cole had got knocked out and they had the car running and all that. So they call the ambulance. They call the ambulance and the ambulance comes and stuff. And of course, Angela and them come down there because they see the sirens and stuff. So they come down there to figure out what's going on. And then we have Victoria on her little rendezvous with her married man. She get on my nerves. I'm gonna get to her later on in this episode, but baby, Victoria irritates my soul. Do you hear me? And so they all come back, and of course, the guy was, Vicky was like, "Well, drop me off by the mailbox so my parents don't see." And this is what's real stupid to me. Let me, I think I'm gonna finish up on Victoria right now. You told them to drop you off at the mailbox so your parents wouldn't see, trying to save them from knowing you running around with this married man that worked with your daddy. But later on in the episode, you out to lunch with him in a public restaurant and you trying to be all, kissing up on him and rubbing up on him and making it very obvious that y'all are not there in a friend capacity, that it is more to it. And it just so happened that who was in the restaurant to see it? Angela and Julia. The wrong two to see anything as it pertains to Chase and his kids doing something they ain't supposed to be doing. Then later on in the episode, you go by his job to bring him lunch. Listen, ain't nobody ask you to bring lunch. You need to learn Side Chick 101. Side Chick 101 don't show up until she is asked to show up, okay? Because you never know when the wife is going to be around. She show up with lunch. He trying to tell her, "No, please, get out, leave. No, please, get out, leave." And she is insistent on unpacking this whole picnic basket that she done brought to his job. And guess who come walking up? His wife. She was like, "Well, damn, when you invited me to lunch, I didn't know this is what we was doing." Now, mind you, his wife is having a whole affair of her own, so she really can't stand and indignant in this situation. But it's the audacity for me. Learn your place, Victoria. If you're going to indulge in an affair with a married man, there are rules to this shit, okay? Moving on. Now, let's get back to the beginning. I just had to get that out of my system because I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with Victoria. Y'all know I don't like her. She irritates my soul. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with Victoria. So they get there, and of course, Nick ends up dropping Victoria off, and Chase is so caught up in what's going on with Cole, he ain't even worried about why you bring my daughter home. He let that go. But Cole, they take him in the ambulance, and of course they find this, suicide note, right? And the sheriff, who already think Cole is guilty, was like, I guess it got to him. I guess the guilt ate him up because, he wrote this suicide note. Your son attempted suicide, and and he confessed to the crime, and this to me is a confession, and I'm gonna forward this to the DA. That sheriff irritates my soul too. I don't like him at all. So Cole is at the hospital, and of course they have to figure out how much carbon monoxide that he inhaled and all of that. Is he gonna have any brain damage and all of that? It's got to be real dramatic. Angela and Julia and all of them show up, and of course they play like, oh, and Lance is there, and they, Richard show up. Everybody show up, and they're playing real concerned. Chase don't want Richard there. Hell, Chase don't really want Angela there. And Angela's whole attitude is, listen, if Cole died, he just died. She didn't say that to Chase, of course, but she said that outside afterwards, like, listen, if Cole died and he gets blamed for the O'Grady murder, then that'll be the end of this, and we'll be done with it, and we can move on. But all of them got their own motives. We'll find out later what their motives are. But anyway, Cole does end up waking up, and when he wakes up, he tells them, "Listen, I did not commit suicide. I didn't attempt suicide to do nothing. Somebody hit me upside the head. This was a setup." And so now they are convinced even more that whoever killed Melissa's daddy is the one who's trying to kill Cole and make it look like, Cole did it, because they're trying to tie this whole thing up in a little knot and keep it moving. Now, back down to the newspaper. Remember, Richard's little girlfriend she done snitched on him, and she done called his daddy. Now his daddy done showed up and was like, listen, this was all great and all of this little game you playing out here and playing with this newspaper and stuff, but ain't nobody tell you to be dibbling dabbling in the wine industry. That is not why you here. That is not what it was about. And it's time for you to come back home. Like, you need to come back to New York, because remember, Richard is in this company that they're like alluding to as like a mob type situation. And Richard's daddy was like, listen, I ain't even here on my behalf. I'm here on my boss's behalf. And Richard was like, your boss? I thought you were the boss. He was like, everybody got a boss. Now, let's be clear. He don't call me often, and he don't dibble and dabble in my affairs. But then on this one, he called me and told me to get your ass back home. So what I need you to do is shut all of this down, and I need you to come on back with me. And Richard was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. And he was like, say what? Say who? And Richard said, listen, let's be clear. You was never really concerned with being no daddy. You was concerned with finding somebody to, do what you wanted them to do and to be your, like, henchman or whatever. So this ain't about love. This ain't about concern. And I'm here to do something. I'm here for a reason. And I'm not going nowhere until I get what I came here to get. And, of course, at this point, now he wants revenge on Angela and everything else. Why? I don't know. But whatever. And, so the daddy ends up leaving. And Richard's little, his little secretary, a.k.a. girlfriend, a.k.a. ex-girlfriend, she called up to the daddy and was like, listen, is there anything I could do? And he was like, just keep an eye on things. And she was like, okay, well, why are you leaving? He was like, oh, whoa. Well, I don't answer to you. I don't have to tell you nothing. I don't have to explain nothing to you. What you mean, why did I leave? I left because I was done talking to my son. He was like, listen now, I appreciate you calling me and letting me know what's going on, but I need you to make yourself useful. I need you to keep an even closer eye on him now that I am leaving. But don't forget where you are. Don't overstep your bounds, ma'am. Don't overstep your bounds. Now, I think she more connected than we think she is. I think she the one that called the big boss and told the big boss that Richard was tripping. But, he don't know that. So, it is what it is. Melissa and Lance still arguing, child. I can't do this with Melissa and Lance, okay? She holding the vineyards over his head, and he telling her that he really don't give a damn, which he don't. He just don't care, okay? When it comes to her, he is over it, okay? And he was actually trying to, like, become a husband, and he was like, well, maybe we need to start doing husband and wife things, and Melissa was like, you would never. He was like, fine, whatever. I wasn't even really wanting no way. So, of course, Cole and his mama, and his daddy are trying to remember what happened. And Maggie is pissed off because she was like, listen, can we just let this whole thing drop? Like, this is the reason why we in this mess to begin with. Can you let this whole situation drop? And Chase was like, nah, we can't let it drop. Because at the end of the day, it's way too much of this going on. We got to figure out and get to the bottom of this. Now, Richard and Melissa's affair, honey, has kicked into high gear, okay? It has kicked into high gear. Now, Richard is talking to Melissa about her whole situation. And Richard is like, listen, so what's up with this baby situation? And Melissa was like, I'm married to Lance. That's the father. And he was like, listen, and I know that ain't true. He was like, it wasn't even hard for me to get a copy of those paternity tests that Lance had done. I might not know who the daddy is, but I know it ain't Lance. He said, and rumor has it, you and Cole was hanging kind of tough about 9 months before you had that baby. So tell me what's really good. Melissa said, let me explain something to you. That baby and me being married to Lance gives me Falcon Crest. And one day I will run Falcon Crest. And nothing is going to stop me because my son gives me that legacy. Now, Melissa, this is where your whole thought process is flawed. What the hell make you think that Angela Channing is going to ever let you run Falcon Crest? I don't care what you think. I don't care what in your mind you have convinced yourself that son gives you a license to. But let's be clear. You not running nothing, okay? Now, she has convinced herself in her mind that this is what's going to happen. And so, later on, her and Richard are in bed, and Richard makes her an offer on her property, her father's vineyards and stuff. And she was like, Angela's already told me that whatever offer you make, she gonna match it. And he was like, I tell you what, how about I offer you triple what it's worth, and I give you a percentage of the vineyard. So whatever profits I make from the vineyard, you get a profit every year for infinity. She was like, I think you might have yourself a deal. But then she goes and she tells Lance. And at first I was like, girl, are you stupid? Why are you telling Lance? You know Lance gonna go back and tell his grandmother, like, don't say nothing until it's a done deal. But of course, Melissa knew that. And that's what Melissa was banking on, was him running back and telling Angela. So Angela comes up and was like, listen, I need to talk to you, Melissa. And Melissa was like, what's good? And she said, how in the world are you gonna sell your vineyards and property and stuff to Richard Channing? She was like, you already know that that belongs here, that's supposed to be here in Falcon Crest. And so Melissa gives her a counter offer and says, well, listen, I tell you what, if you forgive all of the if you pay my father's back taxes and you forgive the loan, I'll let you run them vineyards, but I'll keep my name on the deed. And Angela was like, that don't even make no sense. You want me to pay off his taxes, forgive the loans, and you still don't give me the vineyards? She said, listen, that's the deal. Take it or leave it. Oh, I'm selling to Richard. And she was like, that is blackmail. She was like, you call it what you want, but that's what I want. And I said, okay, I see you, Melissa. I see you. You still think that you got Angela over a barrel, but you don't. And I don't even remember what happens, but I'm pretty certain that that ain't what it is. Chase is talking to the private eye. He gives the private eye all this information because the private eye is investigating this whole situation and trying to get down and dirty and figure out who killed Melissa's daddy. Melissa goes to visit Cole in the hospital. And Cole is telling her, listen, I love you. Let's be me and you. I want my son. And Melissa's like, listen, that's never going to happen. He was like, what you mean that's never going to happen? And she was like, listen, my son belongs to Falcon Crest. I mean, I can appreciate that you want it, but it's never gonna happen. And he was like, well, listen, please understand that I'm not gonna ever give up, because that's my son. I'm not gonna give up. And people crack me up because Melissa told him, just let that go. Like, it's just that easy. Like, let it go. Don't worry about it. Just let it go. And I'm like, y'all act like that's just so easy to be like, oh, well, that's my son, but I don't care no more. I'm gonna let it go. If y'all don't go sit down somewhere. So last but not least, child, the private eye done called. Cole is home from the hospital. The private eye done called and said, listen, well, no, let me rewind a little bit. Richard goes to visit Chase. And Chase is like, Richard, don't nobody want no parts of this, okay? I don't want you nowhere around it. I mean, we not brothers, we not friends. You know, your newspaper tried to bury my son. Now all of a sudden you here wanting to help my son. I don't trust you and I don't need you. And Richard was like, so what you trying to say? You too good for my help? He was like, take it however you want it. Take it however you want it. But at the end of the day, I don't need your help. And so Richard, gets all in his feelings. And I'm like, Richard, you can do whatever you want to do to people. And then when you decide you over it, everybody else just supposed to be over it. Boy, bye. But last but not least, the private eye called Chase and let Chase know, listen, I done rolled up on some people. I'm down here in Chinatown, and they told me that, some guy that worked for, some Asian guy that worked for Angela Channing got to our witness before you got to the witness, but I was able to find him. And he said that he saw who the killer was, and Chase was like, well, who was the killer? And he was like, well, here's a description. He was like, Chase, don't get mad, but here's a description. And basically he described Cole. So you already know that Charlie then got to the man and told the man, this is what you tell anybody if they come snooping around. And it is what it is. But anyway, that's the episode. That episode went, the review was kind of quick on that one, because most of it was about Cole being in a coma and then him waking up. Child, we ain't got time for that. Anyway, but that's what it is. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in them comments. Peace.